here we are, tearing towards the magic of Christmas, aren't we? It's the most wonderful time of the year. The first Noel. Oh, Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree. I do like traditional Christmas carols, don't you? None of this rubbish that you hear in the pop charts, although I do feel that Cliff Richard doesn't get enough of a mention around the Christmas period, don't you think? Cliff Richard, my favourite ever Christmas tune, Christmas pop song is Mistletoe and Wine. Here we are, mistletoe and wine, children singing Christian. Oh, I love it, dear. And I wonder if that's on my karaoke system. We must try and do that one around the Christmas period. We really must. Now, listen, more bad news. As you know, in the last show, I was attacked. Attacked last week, boys and girls. Well, it gets worse. It gets worse. In the last couple of days, since the last show, I mean, these things come in threes. Oh, I know what the third thing is. I'll come on to that in a minute. But not only was I attacked last week, in the last 2 days, boys and girls, I have been robbed. Yes, robbed. Not only robbed, not down some dark alley or in a block of flats somewhere, or in a nightclub or in a pub or a public convenience or even out on the street. No, I have been robbed in my own garden. What's going on? Is someone sending bad karma over? Have I done something terrible to someone? Is that what it is? Is this God's punishment to me? That's the question. I have been robbed. Not only that, but I saw it happening with my own eyes, boys and girls. Shocking. It's okay, I'm not going to ask you to send something. A lot of people, they do these things and they tell other people in the hope that other people are going to put their hands in their pockets and give them something back to kind of alleviate the robbery. I'm not going to do that, boys and girls. In fact, I'm one of those people that would be offended if you put your hand in your pocket and started sending things through. I have been robbed. Yesterday morning, round about 11 o'clock, I was in the kitchen making my breakfast as usual. Cup of tea, blueberries, a banana, and some bran flakes with nice cold milk. I fed the cats, as always. Tiny and Katie, sitting there enjoying their first meal of the day. Well, I say enjoying their first meal of the day. Katie's all right. She's no problem feeding. Tiny, the older cat, has recently... I'm sorry, can you hear that? Listen. You know what that is, don't you? That's the hot water bottle on my lap. Keeping me nice and warm so I don't have to turn the heating on. Although, bless me Suko for I have sinned. Last week, I wasn't feeling well Wednesday night, so I turned the heating on. Not for 1 hour. Oh, shock horror. Are you ready for this? Bless me Suko. Not for 2 hours, 3 or 4. I turned the heating on all night. I really didn't feel too well at all, but on to that in a minute, because that's the third thing. Back to the story. Tiny has been a bit fussy recently. I keep putting down food for her. She'd take 2 mouthfuls and then come back and sit in front of me, indicating that she doesn't want that. Can I have something else, please? Well, I mean, the other day, I must have put down 4 different sorts of food. Each one, she took a little bite from, and then come back over. And I'm getting rather fed up with her fussy. I don't know what her problem is. I really don't. That's the old cat, Tiny. She's always been fussy. And she's quite thin underneath her very thick coat of fur. But I don't know what her problem is. I really don't. 4 different things the other day. She took a mouthful of each one, come back to me and sat down waiting for something else. I'm not doing it anymore. Susan, our cat lover, can you help me there? Can you help me? Why is she doing that? Right. So, now where was I? Oh, yes. I fed the cats and I've come back upstairs to my bedroom. I peered out of the window at my hanging baskets, and on the tall pine tree that is in my garden, I spotted a little grey thing with a long bushy tail. Yes, boys and girls, a squirrel. Now, I'm a bit of a fan of squirrels. I like them. Don't you? The way they hop from tree to tree. I thought, how cute. I looked at that squirrel and I thought, one can only dream of being as cute as that. You get all these cute girls and cute boys in the various places that I work, but none of them, not a single one, look as cute as a squirrel. There it was, coming down the tree. How do they do that? How do they stand there vertically on that tree like that and not fall down? That's what I want to know. And I looked at it and it stopped and I could see the squirrel looking at me. And I looked at the squirrel and it looked at me. It then proceeded to continue on down to one of my hanging baskets, dug up the bulbs and run up with them. What a liberty! I have been robbed by a squirrel. I mean, they've got no shame, I tell you. It wasn't like that when I was younger. Squirrels didn't do that in the 1970s. They had respect for people. Now, in broad daylight, in front of my eyes, looking at me, watching it, it had the audacity to climb down to my hanging basket, dig up a bulb, and run back up the tree with it. The liberties of some people. Honestly, come on, gang. Those of you of a certain age, that wouldn't have happened in the 70s and 80s. That's the trouble. The squirrels have no respect for people anymore. It's a liberty. It's a liberty. And no doubt we've got all... I can just hear them now. You can hear them now. The politically correct crew and the do-gooders. I can hear them now saying to me, oh, you don't understand the squirrels. You've got to talk to them. I don't think so, dear. They need to be locked up and punished. They got the right idea in the Middle East, you know. If you steal things in certain countries, they chop your hands off. And that's what should be done to these squirrels. It's not fair for someone hard-working like me, virtually out, constantly, 24 hours a day, working, trying to earn an honest crust, only to have my goods stolen by some little fairy squirrel. Because it had to feed its family. Get a job. Robbed by a... See? Look at that now. Attacked last week by an old woman who I was trying to help. And yesterday, robbed by a squirrel. So that's one less bulb will come up in that hanging basket. Oh, can you hear them? The do-gooders. They're on the keyboard at the moment, aren't they? They're typing away to me. Typing away. Chris, you're a nasty person. Talk to the squirrels. You've got to understand them. No, you haven't. Chop their paws off. They soon stop stealing my bulbs then. There we are. So that's one bit of bad news this week. Bit of bad news number 2. I have not been feeling too good. Now, these ulcers are still in my mouth, right at the back, underneath the tongue. So if I open my mouth, who can't see them? Right? They're not on the inside of the mouth. They're not on the roof of the mouth. They're not on the top of the tongue. They're not on the gums. They are underneath the tongue at the back. And I was actually able to see them the other day. There's 3 of them on the back of the tongue there and 2 of them on that side, on each side. Tiny little things. And they've been hanging around for a few weeks now. Well, I went to the doctor again for the second time on Wednesday. And he's given me this paste. It's a little bit like that, what's that brand? You know, like that Bonjela one? It's a bit like that, but it's more of a paste. And the idea is you put some on your finger, you know your tongue, and put it on your tongue, right? Like that. And it's supposed to form a protective seal. The trouble is, where they are situated in my mouth, they are very, very hard to get to. You've got to grab your tongue, Boo on fire. While looking in the mirror at the same time. It's very hard. Anyway, so I got this stuff. I bet this tastes awful. Actually, there's no taste at all on this stuff. But you put it on your finger, and I tried to put it in my mouth. Well, I mean, it must have gone everywhere but on the ulcers. And I mean, it's obviously very good stuff, because once I tried to put it in there, then it went on the inside of my teeth, it went over my tongue, and it went on my finger, and it's a devil to get off. You know, like when you've got glue and you get a bit on your finger, like I don't know, whatever sort of glue, Yoo-hoo or super glue or something like that, Evo stick, and it kind of forms a protective barrier. It's just like that. It's just like glue. And I've spent ages trying to rub it off my I couldn't get it off my finger. So, and also I just don't feel right at the moment. You know, when you don't quite feel right, and I'm convinced it's all to do with this mouth thing. I feel it's pulling me down, you know. So that must be bad thing number 3. So hopefully nothing else bad will happen then. Okay? So what have I done? I've told you about me being robbed. Told you about me ulcer. Oh yes, not well, dear. Oh yes, bad thing number 4. You remember I said to you, I'm waiting for a new piece of equipment to arrive to replace something that sits up there, and it kind of controls the sound so it doesn't get too loud and it's not too quiet. It's called a compressor. Those of you that are technically minded, it's a compressor. The idea is, if I shout at you really loud, it turns it down a bit before it gets to you. And if I talk really quiet, it turns it up a bit so that you can still hear what I'm saying. That's the idea. Well, the one up there, it's got a loose connection, so I've ordered another one. I didn't get an email from the company because I did it all online. Funny thing is, it's now £25 less than what it was when I bought that one. Isn't that funny? So I rang up the company and they said, oh yeah, we should have got an email, but not to worry, it's on the van and you'll have it tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much. So I waited and I waited and I waited and I thought, oh. And then it got to 12 o'clock and I thought, well, it's lunchtime now. They're not going to deliver now. And you know what happened, didn't you? I went up to the swimming pool, came back, got there it is, card in the door. I mean, it wasn't actually the postman. I've got a lot of time for Royal Mail. I really have. I mean, they always, I don't know if they're actually allowed to do this, but they often leave things in a little cupboard that I've got next to my main door. The private companies never do that. Now, CityLink were the ones who went. And as usual, whenever I have a real problem with CityLink. I do. Whenever they deliver something, I'm out. Doesn't matter what time it is, I'm always out when they try and deliver something. It gets on my nerves. So I've got the card in the door, missed it, come again Monday. Oh, here we go again, I thought. So that's it. I wonder if these people from these private mail companies, do they wait for you to go out? Is he like watching from behind a tree or a van somewhere, and they wait for you to leave the house, don't they? Huh? And then they quickly pop along with a card, push it through the door, and off they go again. It's a liberty, that's what it is. So that's that. What else have I done? I meant this week to go out and get some Christmas decorations for the studio. Probably where the ball is, those of you watching on YouTube, because if you're listening, I'm sure it will create a different atmosphere. You will be able to hear the fact that there are Christmas decorations in here. I'm sure you will. Okay? But I'm going to have probably a small reef where the ball is turning slowly, and next to me a little Christmas tree with lights on it. And I meant to go out last week and get that, but unfortunately I haven't had time to do it yet. So that's still coming, all right? Okay, what else? Have I said how I am yet? I haven't welcomed you to the... I've just chatted and chatted and chatted. I haven't welcomed you. So, hello to you, boys and girls. My name is Chris Reardon. This is my 3 times a week talk show, United Kingdom Talk. If you're listening on the internet, check your station's schedule for details of when I'm on. If you're listening to the podcast or YouTube, new shows every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. All right, that's when the shows are on. Okay. Anything else to tell you? Oh, yes, I have, actually. just before. Oh, there was a bit of good news this week. Bit of good news. Down at the local sports centre, I might have already told you about this actually, I received a free bottle of wine. Yes, because I am a loyal customer. Yes, a loyal customer. That's me, loyal customer. Not only that, now I'm not a wine drinker. Okay, you may already know, I do not like wine. All wine to me tastes like some sort of vinegar. Seriously. And that's not a joke. Whatever wine I have ever tasted tastes like vinegar. I think it's vile stuff. Absolutely vile. And I've had expensive wine. I've had cheap wine. It all tastes like vinegar. Vile, 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 vile. So please do not send bottles of wine in the post. So that's okay. Because I shall use that bottle of wine as a prize at Bingay. If you don't know what Bingay is, have a look on the internet, bingay.com, www.bingay.com. All right, now that's something I do every Tuesday night at a venue in Ealing in London called West 5, Pope's Lane, Ealing. Starts at around about 8:30 and we do prizes and play bingo. Yes, it was a good laugh, dear, you'll love it. Not only did I get the bottle of wine from the sports centre, but look at this! Oh yes! A £5 voucher. Now, can you see? December 2008, £5 voucher. What did I get this for? Nothing. Something for nothing. We know managers like that, don't we? Eh? Have you ever... No, I'm not going to tell you any names at all, dear. Absolutely not. We call certain people... Now, I bet you know one, don't you? A Mr. Something, or Mr. and Mrs. Something for Nothing. Yes, those ones that always want a favour for nothing. How many of those do you know? One or two, perhaps? Yes. Anyway, I got this. Do you remember, a couple of months ago, I told you that the sports centre have now brought out this loyalty card thing. And every time you visit, you swipe it. And you get 200, I think it's 200 bonus points or 300 bonus points. No, that's wrong. You get 100 bonus points every time you visit the sports centre. And when it gets to so many points, you get a free £5 voucher. And I have my first one. And I have to spend it apparently by the 31st of December. It says, your voucher is valid until the end of this month, so please spend it as soon as possible. Oh, I love it, dear. We like something for nothing, so I shall probably use it and have a little meal in the restaurant, in the sports centre next week. Yes, that saved me doing cooking or anything like that. I actually had a Christmas dinner there, not last year, I think the year before. They do Christmas dinners and you can book them up. It was all really sad, really, actually, because around me are like tables of, obviously, companies and groups of people and all sitting there having a Christmas dinner. And I went down and sat at this table, this single table. No, sorry, I didn't. I went straight to the thing there. I said, I booked a Christmas dinner. I said, okay, what's your name, please, Mr. Reardon? Okay, sir, is there a party with you? And I'm like, no, just on my own, please. And isn't that sad? How sad is that? Anyway, so I went and sat at this single square table. And on this table, she brought over a little rose in a vase and a cracker. And I looked at her. I said, I've got no one to pull my cracker with. It's awful, isn't it? And you know how it is, single people. Sitting there on your own. No one to pull your cracker with you. She says, go on then, I'll do it with you. And with that, she yanked it hard, and bang it went, dear. I'm very pleased to say that I got the paper hat, but I didn't go as far as putting the paper hat on my head in the restaurant. I thought that was going a bit too far. So I got a free, can't remember what I got now. Did I have a drink? She said, what do you want to drink? I said, oh, I don't drink, just a lemonade or a Coke or something like that, you know. And it was a very nice Christmas dinner. But it's just awful, you know. How many is it for, sir? Oh, just me. She must have thought, what a sad old man sitting there on his own, mustn't she? It's a bit like that when you go to Disneyland. I've been to Disneyland a couple of times, fortunately. Very lucky to have been a few times, not more than a few times, I bet. And you're queuing all that time with all these families and couples and groups of teenagers and what have you, and gets to you, and you get to the barrier. How many, sir? Oh, just me. And they don't even try and fit you in with the group, do they? They make you sit on your own, so it's obvious that you're lonely and on your own. Dreadful. So, that's my £5 voucher, which I'll be spending this week. I'm very pleased about that. Mr. Something for Nothing. Yes, that's me today. Not usually me, but it is me today. Right, how are we doing on time? Okay, let's move on to some emails. I've got loads more to tell you, but we ain't got time to do that, have we? Emails then. First of all, thank you very much for Millie in Minnesota, who has sent me some lovely pictures of the cottage on Pelican Lake in North Minnesota, where she is now. She's travelling back to her flat in Champlin, Minnesota. She's probably back there now. In the meantime, guess what I'm doing? She says, I've downloaded all of your podcasts going back to October 2005. And now listening to all of them in order. Oh, my word, dear. You are dedicated. Very, very dedicated. Thank you, darling. And I'm looking at the pictures now. There's a lot of pictures here, Millie, of snow, dear. And you know I don't like snow. Horrible, nasty, cold, slippery snow. Oh, I hate snow. I mean, it looks nice out of a window. I'm sure it looks very beautiful out your windows in the cottage. And she sends pictures of the cottage as well, if I can describe for you. It looks very, very comfy. Is that an open fire? You've got an open fire with the bricks around and candles and it's like wood on the walls. She's got wood. What's that called? Is it wooden cladding? Is that what it's called? On the walls and on the ceiling. And it's looking very, very nice indeed. It does look rather... Oh, I quite like the tablecloth. She's got like... what's that stuff? You know, like a doily. It's like a very large doily with lots of little... they're snowflakes, aren't they? Snowflake patterns on her... what do you call it? On her tablecloth. Very, very nice. And the table's set out. But there's 3 places on that table, Millie. See, you lucky thing. You've got someone to share your meals with. When I finish my show later on, I'll go downstairs and get 1 plate out of the cupboard. Warm up a bit of the stew I made yesterday. And sit there, eating alone. But don't feel sad for me, Millie. All right, so thanks very much for the pictures there, Millie. Where's my pen gone? Hang on, there it is. Pen found. Thank you, Millie. Right, onward. Oh, by the way, I was just talking to Ross P from rosspatzelt.co.uk, who does a podcast as well. Do you know what? I don't know if you've been following his show, but he recently moved into another house and he ordered some cupboards. He still has not got those wardrobes set up properly because he's waiting on parts. And it's shocking. Absolutely shocking, that is. I tell you, you see, this is the trouble. You know, you go to a department store, you get the service. These internet companies, they do not... I don't find a lot of them get... I'm sure some of them do. But a lot of them, I've heard, do not give service. Can I just put this hot water bottle on the floor now? Because I'm now going to put... My feet are feeling cold. And I'm going to put them on the hot water bottle. Oh, we've got all the mod cons here. Do you have a hot water bottle? Come on, be honest with me. Who still uses a hot water bottle rather than or as well as putting the heating on? Let me know. Now, there's an email address to the show. The email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right, I'll give it to you again. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, there is a postal address as well, which I meant to give you out on the last show, didn't I? I forgot to do it. That's coming up in a second. If you want to get a pen, ready to write that down, okay? Let's say hello to Susan, our cat lover. Now, I've actually got 2 emails here from Susan, one which I am shocked by, to be honest, Susan, shocked. But I may not have time to read that in this show. We'll see. We'll see, okay? Here's the first one from her. She says, because I was talking about my tyres. Do you remember I had to change a tyre? Well, I couldn't change it. I had to call the OAC out. Couldn't get the wheel off, could I? So I'd recently bought 3 new tyres. And Susan says, don't you have rent a tyre or rent a wheel over in the UK? No. Never heard of that. I'm sure. Actually, I did have a quick little look on the internet after I received this email. No such thing here in the UK. Rent a tyre or rent a wheel. Susan says, this works really great since you have new tyres on your car all the time. Since a lot of us in the States have an hour's drive into work each day, we can really go through a set of tyres in no time. No, I've never heard of that. What a good idea. Is that cheaper then than buying tyres, I wonder? Because I paid £133 for 3 new tyres. So what's that, about $180, $190, something like that, US? All right. Thanks for that, Susan. And your other email may or may not come up before the end of the show. Oh, I've got something else here. You know, I said there was a package waiting. Look, 1 minute. Oh, a package. Listen, a package has arrived. Now, will we have time to open it on this show? I don't know. We will have to see. I thought the camera was over there. Then I'm looking at the wrong place. Thank you. It's Doug in Akeley, USA. Now, for some reason, I thought Doug was in Canada, but Akeley is in the USA, not Canada. Sorry, Doug. 1,000 apologies. And Doug writes, great show with your singing. Was that the last show or the one before? The one before, wasn't it? Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Doug. That was 2 shows ago. Your singing was a lot of fun. Hope you do some Christmas tunes. Yes, we will be doing a couple of Christmas. I might try Mistletoe and Wine. I would imagine that's quite a hard song to sing, wouldn't you? There we are, mistletoe and wine. I don't know the words, dear. There still seem to be a few young people around here that dress with their trousers way down below their bums. Yeah, you know that fashion I was talking about again a couple of shows ago. We have that quite a lot in the UK. These a lot of bar staff do it. In Belushi's, there's one. What's his name? Pepe, who's also starting to be a DJ as well. And while he's serving behind the bar, his trousers are halfway down his bum, and you see pants. And I want to know, how do they manage to keep those trousers up? I've tried it, dear, but they just don't want... It's probably because I've got a fat bum. They won't stay up, dear. How is it? Come on, boys and girls. Well, it's just the boys that do it, isn't it? If you are one of those people that's got that fashion with your trousers halfway down your bum, how do you keep them up? I want to know that. Let me know. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Doug says... But I don't see as many dressing like that as I used to. What a shame. Must be going out of style. Hope you keep talking about your DJ adventures. I love it. From Doug in Akeley, USA, not Canada. Sorry, Doug. My geography is not very good, I'm afraid. All right. Oh, we've done that one. Have we done that one? Yes, we've done that one as well. Right. And now, from the USA, it's all... Shall I give you the postal address now? Right, go on. Here we go. Going to give you the postal address. If you haven't got email and you're listening to the radio, you can still communicate with our little hour-long morsel of fun. And the postal address is... Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk. P.O. Box 4073... Bracknell, Bracknell, RG429ED. Here it comes again. Chris Reardon, Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, P.O. Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG429ED, and at the end put United Kingdom. You written that down? Good. There we are. Anything you want to send in a post, you see? You don't need internet to communicate with the programme. How exciting. Right, from the USA, we go to Finland. Finland, hello, Petri. And she says, hi, greetings from snow. Finland calling, Finland calling, Finland calling. Thank you very much for your shows. I've laughed so much while listening to you. Sadly, most Finns don't understand English. Just like most Englishmen don't understand Finnish. Yeah, that's true enough. So because of lack of the subtitles, well, not many have seen your show over here. But I'm your fan all the way. Christmas is coming. So, oh, blimey, this is in Finnish. Horska, Julua, Kakili, Sumesta, which means Merry Christmas to all from Finland. Your friend, Petri. Oh, like a Petri dish. Yes. Well, don't like Petri dish. You get lots of nasty things growing in there, don't you, dear? Isn't it horrible, isn't it? They get those dishes, don't they? They take a sample of something of you, don't they? And they scrape it across this Petri dish. They put it in an oven and all these things are growing. It's vile. Vile. Thank you, Petri. Nice to hear from you, my darling. Now, there's a couple of emails that I appear to have left out in the last couple of shows. So apologies to Matthew. Hello, Matthew. We did read an email from him a few shows ago. There's a couple of extra ones since then. He says, hi, Chris. I'm a DJ. I've played all sorts of music at my gigs. In a way, the DJ work I do is similar to what you do in a way. I've been doing work in the clubs as I have been doing some mobile work as well. I actually just completed my move to Vancouver. Now that's Canada, isn't it? I've got that right, haven't I? Can I tell you, at school, 1 or 2 years ago, I got unclassified for geography. My geography was so bad, I didn't get a score. I actually just completed my move to Vancouver. So hopefully, things will work out brilliantly over here. I wanted to bring up a few topics that you could always look up for your show. One being called an amaro. Have you ever heard of it? No, never heard of an amaro. What is an amaro? Please tell me. And he sends a link to a video thing, which I haven't looked at yet, to be honest. I recall you talking about the credit crunch. And I think that this will make for some very interesting conversation. Well, yes. And I wonder, have people cut back on anything? Now, certainly the government here in the UK are trying to get people to spend money. They've reduced mortgage rates considerably over the last few months. I mean, a lot. I'm saving quite a lot of money. I have, I deal with a little bit of property myself. I've got some flats. And they all have mortgages on them. And I am saving an awful lot of money at the moment because of these mortgage rate decreases. But I'm afraid if they think I'm going to spend that money, you've got another thing coming. What I will do with the money I save is start paying off one of those mortgages, rather than go out and spend it. Now, the government are doing this in the hope that you will spend it. Probably, my guess is, most people will use that money to buy things, because I'm afraid over time I've found that there are not many people like myself around who would rather pay off a loan than go and buy themselves something. I can't stand owing money to anyone. I really hate it. As far as I'm concerned, you could take out a loan for a house and a car, and that's it. We've discussed this many times on the show. You get people borrowing money for Christmas and holidays, and I just think that's so wrong. It's not necessarily their fault. It's their fault. It's been drummed into their brains by television advertisements, newspaper advertisements, that it's fine to just go and borrow as much as you want. You want something? Oh, don't worry about saving up. Borrow it now. Have it now and pay later. Well, I wasn't brought up like that. And with that extra money I'm saving for the mortgage rates going down, I shall start chipping away at those mortgages. That's exactly what I did to my house here. Whenever I had a little bit of extra money, I'd be straight down that building society and pay a bit more off the house. So, credit crunch, to me, Matthew, I hate to say it, but I'm better off than I was this time last year. Strange, isn't it? But what about you, boys and girls? Has the credit crunch affected you? Have you got mortgages? Perhaps here in the UK, I don't know how it's working wherever else in the world. If you are somewhere else in the world, then tell me how it is there. Have your mortgage rates come down or anything like that? Has your life changed in the last year? Do let me know on the email, okay? Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. But yes, I mean, whenever I have a bit of more money, if I've got a borrowing of some sort, which in this case is mortgages, then I use it to try and reduce the loan. Because we don't know what's around the corner. It may be that loads of people start spending money and then they find they put the mortgages up again. But I am saving. The mortgages have dropped considerably. We're not just talking about a couple of pounds. They have dropped a lot. Now, I'm going to sneeze. Just a minute. Oh, dear. I think... Oh. Oh, dear me. Excuse me. It's the excitement of having a bit more cash in the bank. That's what it is. But no, there's nothing I want, you see. We got Sylvie. She's the landlord of the person I work on Friday nights. And she's always going, oh, why don't you spend some money? There's nothing I want, Sylv. The only thing I'm going to buy in the next few months is another computer to replace the audio one. That's the only thing I'm going to replace. Let me just blow my nose. You won't hear this. Just a minute. It's handy having that little button there. You didn't hear me blow my nose, did you? Eh? Yeah, I'm going to replace the computer, but really there's not a lot else I want. I did toy with the idea of getting a proper video camera, but there's nothing wrong with this one, you know. It's just wasting money. I don't waste money. Matthew goes on to say, I also wanted to ask you if you have any questions for me about Canada and whether, in fact, you've visited Canada already at some point in your life. No, never been to Canada. That one, not yet. I gather it's a very beautiful place, a bit like New Zealand. And New Zealand is very clean. And I like country and walking and all that. So, no, I haven't visited that yet. Not keen on city life. Not really keen on city. I mean, I went to New York. I went there for a week, and in all honesty, that was enough. Oh, it was just too busy. Far too busy. Manhattan, part of New York, incidentally. If you do happen to have any questions, please feel free to ask, okay? He says, in response to your radio show from Thursday, couple of weeks ago about the horrible radio stations that are over here. In my opinion, they are bad. Yeah, because he was saying he doesn't like the radio in Canada. They are bad because they are all the same in the sense that they only touch on topics that seem to be strictly news related. Well, you know the thing, in all fairness to them, that seems to be what most people want to listen to. They want to listen. This is completely different, as you know. We talk here on this show about life, a lot of my life, and depending on who writes in, your lives as well. Now and again we touch on nude subjects like we just did the credit crunch, but not really in-depth serious. And I think there's a place for everything really, Michael, or Matthew, sorry. There is a place for in-depth news stories like the BBC do, sort of little news stories like they do on the independent stations, and life programmes like this one. I think there's space for everything. Radio people, on the other hand, would say to you that the radio stations that you say are horrible are the best, but they are radio people. There's the difference there. And I've often mentioned this. I make my shows not for radio people, but for listeners. And indeed viewers, of course. Those of you watching on YouTube. If you've not seen the show, perhaps you've been listening for a long time. If you've never seen the show and you'd like to have a look and see just how ugly and lonely I really am, then just go to the main United Kingdom Talk website. You will need the internet to do that, okay? And you'll find that at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Matthew goes on to say, although I totally respect the news in every way, I believe that there should be some stations set up becoming involved with their communities. Well, here in the UK, we now have little community radio stations, and they do a very good job. They really do. There's a lot of difference. They get local people involved to make radio, and I think it's excellent. I think it's excellent to have so many tiers. As far as talk shows go in Canada, they are very few and far between. You could say, well, actually, here in the UK it's the same. We have a talk radio station in London. I believe there's one now in, Edinburgh or Glasgow. I think there's one up there. I think there's one in Manchester. There is really 3 national talk stations as well. But that's it. Here too. You know, I like to hear about people's lives. And I think this is where the podcast thing has really come into its own. Let's face it, a lot of this show that I'm doing now is about my life. Now, there are plenty of other people doing shows like this. You've got to look for them. Ross P. rosspatzout.co.uk does a similar show. Joe, AmericanTalkUSA.com. Similar show, not the same though. He does shows that are, shall we say, more informative. He goes and finds out about things and tells you about them. And I think there are some community stations, some of the smaller stations, who are now picking up on this and thinking, hang on a minute, this isn't too bad at all. I'm very lucky with this show. This show is played out on various different small internet stations and one very big satellite one. And people join in. This is actually, although sometimes you'd be a fool for thinking so, you wouldn't be a fool for thinking so, this is actually not all about me. I'm just, as Suko in New York would say, the connector. I try and bring people together so that we can all join into this 3 times a week and have a bit of a chat. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I wish I could do more, but there's not the time. All right? Let's see here. He goes on to say, you could say that as well, the stations are few and far between. Yeah, the talk stations in Canada. Okay, fair enough. You could say as well that the stations that do exist are not at all light-hearted. Well, again, you know, it depends on what road they decide to go down. A lot of the music stations here in the UK are convinced that people do not want to hear DJ chatter. Now, when I was in my teens, I used to listen to the radio, yes, for the music, but also because the great DJs of then used to entertain me. They made me laugh. And that's what I wanted. They did some serious bits. They did some funny bits. Exactly as this show is. But of course, this show doesn't have music. There would be music. But I find there's not enough time. By the time I finish chatting. But, you know, people like Tony Blackburn, Dave Lee Travis... Great DJs. Alan Freeman, no longer with us. And they entertain me. But the people running these stations here, these music stations now in the UK, one particular station recently tried getting rid of all the daytime DJs. And the figures went through the floor. Their listening figures. So now they're putting DJs back on again. It just seems to me like some of the management of some of these stations, they don't... It's them who don't like the DJs. And I wonder sometimes, is it because they're jealous that their DJs are more popular than they are, the actual people running the stations? You've got to lighten up. You take everything too seriously, dear. They're listening for the music. Yes, they are listening for the music. But they want to hear a bit of chatter as well. That's why you don't see... That's why you wouldn't see me on one of those stations, dear. Oh, God, that was... We've talked about this loads of times. Matthew goes on to say, hopefully there will be some changes in the future. He says, in response to British girls having class, I suppose you are right that there can be just as many non-classy type girls there as there can be here. But nevertheless, I will keep searching for the British girl of my dreams. In regards, well, I mean, I've had girls chat me up, usually in Belushi's, where I am in Hammersmith on Mondays and Saturdays. Girls chat me up there, and some of them, they leave nothing to the imagination. I mean, the non-classy ones leave nothing to the imagination. That's all I'm saying. What they say to me is unbelievable, dear. I'm shocked and horrified. But I just say, it's all right, love, I'm gay. And they go, no, you're not. Well, yes, I am. No. And as soon as you tell them you're gay, right, it seems to me that they then try even harder to get hold of you. What's going on there, dear? Oh, Matthew, this is a laugh, isn't it? In regards to your idea of calling my very own future radio show Canada Talk, I think it sounds brilliant. Thank you very much for that suggestion. I will be sure to look into it. Yeah, if you do want to go down those lines, yeah. Do not spend loads of money on equipment, though. All right, Matthew? You should have a cheap microphone that came with your computer and a cheap pair of headphones. That's all you need to start with, okay? A lot of people, they get excited by something, then spend a load of money, they go and do it, and then they decide they don't want to do it anymore, and they've spent a few £100s or dollars on gear. Don't do that. Use what you've got just to try it out, okay? You won't get the quality of the sound of this show, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just use what you've got for now and see if you like it. Matthew says, I suppose I would describe the new job I was telling you about as posh. Yeah, he's doing a new job, as it's more of a high-class job. But remember, dear, we are all professionals. Yes, we are, dear. We are professional idiots. That's what I am, professional idiot. As far as moving to the UK goes, and there is not enough room for all of us, I guess we will have to all relocate to the town you and Suko are creating. Well, I don't know if it's so much as a town now, Matthew. We may have to purchase an entire country because more and more people want to move to Reardon town. An entire or an island. Oh, I know what we'll have. We'll have one of those nice Pacific islands. Oh, beautiful, dear. Oh, with ice, you know, cool blue water surrounding the shores and lots of forest and little animals as well. And we must all become vegetarians so that we don't eat the little animals. Especially, well, except for the squirrels, because they keep nicking my bulbs. I'm not having any of them, all those squirrels, nicking my bulbs. Can you find me a role in your Reardon town? Well, I don't know, Martin. What are you offering here? That's the thing. What can you offer to the community of Reardon town? You have to let me know. Okay? Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. That's the email address. Join in if you dare. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Hello to Sue Hill. Hello, Sue, my darling. All right, love? She says, thanks, Chris, for singing my song with the dogs' doodahs. The dogs what? Oh, sorry, I don't hear what you mean now. What, shake up your weak to get a little sand between your toes. Did you enjoy that? Very summery, isn't it? Did it make you feel all warm? I'm feeling warm at the moment, but it's because I've got a hot water bottle underneath my feet. She says, well done. Brought memories back of times in Roehampton, sitting in my mum's front room listening to your show when you were running that pirate radio station. Just so many years ago, innit? 82, 92, 02, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 26 years ago. Blimey. Rob was more your mate, Sharon was mine. Some lovely memories. There you go, Sue. That was specially for you, darling, all right? Do you remember that? How long were you living in the flat? Were you living... I can't remember where you lived. Were you in one of the red bricked maisonettes? You know, 2 stories. Were you in one of those? Sue, do you remember when we didn't have central heating in those flats? Did you used to wake up in the morning and there was ice on the inside of your window? Do you remember that or not? Eh? I don't know if you've been down there recently, but you know when you go down Danebury Avenue, you go past the shops and then there's a one very long red block. Do you know that's the bottom flats there are all caged in now. There's like it's awful. Oh, it's just awful. It's all cages right across the balconies. Horrible. And an entry phone as well. And it's strange. That's the only block that they've done like that with the entry phone and the bars across it. Awful. Must be like living in a cage. Horrible. Got to say hello to Michael, who I used to work with in Clapham, who has now moved to Japan. I think he's learning some stuff. I think he's doing some teaching there. And Michael put a picture on his Facebook thing of some food that he's about to eat in Japan. And I looked at these pictures and I thought, oh my God, you don't want to be touching any of that stuff. None of that foreign food, Michael. I've told you, dear. Don't touch it. All that fish and nasty... Oh, what's that Japanese stuff? Sushi stuff. Oh, bleh! Oh, no. I can't be touching that nasty stuff. Oh, it just looks vile. And that raw fish, and they sit there eating all that stuff, nasty. We've got a lot of sushi shops and restaurants here in the UK, and they are hideously popular. People love them. I can't bear it. I'm sorry, dear. Sausage, egg and chips any day of the week. And Michael wrote back to me saying, I miss proper food so much. Where's the meat? He said, please, please bring me a microwave meal. He says, I'm eating that stuff all the time now, Chris, and putting on weight. Time to start some exercising. He said, by the way, in one of your recent shows, what do you mean by I used to take my shirt off while DJing? Well, Michael, in Japan, the truth of it is I did used to take my shirt off. I've stopped doing that now because I put weight on, didn't I? All right, if you must know. Cool. Michael, I worked with Michael for, well, I think over a year. And as I say, he's now moved to Japan. And he had the very cute factor. The very cute factor. And I used to watch people chatting him up left, right and centre. And they'd touch him somewhere, wherever, they'd touch him. And he'd go, get off. And they were always touching you, weren't they, Michael? I never did that, did I? Never laid a finger on it. I love doing that, though. When you get people who are really good looking and everyone's chatting them up or touching them, I just talk to them like, hello, mate, how are you? And they don't understand why I don't fancy them. I'm sorry, dear. Too young. All right? There we are. I think we're out of time now. We've got a couple more emails that'll be coming up in the next show from Robert, Matthew in Tasmania, of course. And, of course, that all-important email from Susan. And we've got to open my box on the next show. Thank you, as always, for watching or listening to the show today. Don't forget, do join in by email, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. See you on the next show. Bye-bye.